Hello, my name is Greg and I dev stuff. Welcome to episode 26 of Action RPG game in Unity. Today we want to change how we receive and process the commands for the characters. Right now we are handling all the commands to the character in our input handle inside player character input component. So let's change this to work with command pattern. When our character receives an input, we will determine what kind of input it is and interpret this input into command, which will be sent to the character command handler to be processed, and character will react according to the command. Create a new class called command. Actually, let's namespace an entire command handler into character command namespace. Namespaces are used to organize code into logical groups and to prevent name collision that can become a problem when your game grows in scope. Now inside command handler, create a new method called setCommand, which will store the command we are going to process. Now we need to set the command class, so it will have all necessary information for command to function. First, let's determine the type of the command. Is it a move command or attack command or interact command? We might add more command types later on. Then we need to add world point for move command, the point where our character moving towards. And game object target from attack or interact command. Make constructors, one with the world point and one with the target object. Now in the player character input, instead of using input component to initiate the attack or interact or move, we will just form and pass the command to the command handler. So cache the command handler. Let's create method to create and pass attack command. Pass the object we're hovering over from the interact input as a parameter to be target of attack. Make one for interact. And one for move, where we will get the intersect point as our point to move towards. Good. Now inside the command handler, in the update, if current command is not null, we will call and create a new method called process command. Inside this new method, we will determine what type of the command we have, and based on the type, we will call and create methods. Move command type. One for attack command type. Interact command type. We need to interact with player command handlers like attack handler. We can reference them like this. But I don't like this approach, because we are coupling our systems too much. Meaning, imagine if you have some specific character or object which have a different approach to operating the movement or an attacking system. So we want to make a system which allows us to easily plug those handlers like modules. And to do this, we will use interfaces. Any class that implements interface must provide an implementation of the members defined in the interface. I will make more practical example in the second half of this tutorial. So go back to Unity and introduce a new interface called iCommandHandle. Put it inside character command namespace. And it will have process command method. where we will pass comment as a parameter. So now we need to extend every component which handles the commands by our iCommandHandle interface. Which will force us to implement process command. In interact handle, and in character movement. Inside command handler we need to introduce three fields for move command handler, attack command handler, and interact command handler. Now we want to get the reference to the handlers. We will be referencing them by using their interface, while getting them based on their type. So we are getting character movement, which happens to have a command handle interface. We are getting attack handler, which happens to have command handle interface. And we are getting interact handler, which we made to have iCommand handle interface. Then we will process our current command through our command handlers. Now we need to modify our handlers to work with command handler. Before we were telling to our handlers that here is an object you're interacting with, for example with an interact handler, and he was interacting with this object. Now we're commanding the handler that here is the command you need to execute. And this command is carrying the necessary object you're going to be interacting with. So we need to modify the handlers to work with this command pattern. So let's start from changing attack handlers. Let's move process of attack into the process command method. Clean leftover code. Get rid of the target, because we will be passing target in the command. Perfect. Let's extract damage dealing into separate method. Good. In the interact handler, we will do similar thing. We will move process command then we will get rid of our cached target of interact, because we will be passing the target in our command. Good. Then inside the character movement we will simply set destination on our process command. Okay, let's check this. Let's remove all the parts of the code we have broken. And everything seems fine, except if I click on my enemy, my character will continue attacking indefinitely. Like right now, I'm not clicking on the enemy. This is happening because our command handler have no idea when the command execution is over. So let's introduce a new field inside the command. Which will be boolean is complete. When this field turns true, we will call and create new method called complete command. And inside the complete command we will simply nullify the current command, signifying the completion of the execution of this command and disposing of the command which we, completed. In the attack handle, the moment you attack, you set the is complete to be true on your command. In the interact handle, when you interact with the object, mark the command as being completed. And in the move, we don't need to do anything for now. Good. Now after attacking once, my character stops attacking and I can repeat attacks by clicking rapidly. Please consider supporting me on Patreon. You will get cool perks like being featured like those cool people you can see right now on the screen, or access to project files on Patreon. So let's polish our code a little more today. First, let's change how our enemies are being damaged. Right now, we interact with the enemy character script directly, which actually limits how we can approach certain things. If you remember, we have introduced a concept of interfaces in this episode. So interfaces allow us to produce a common point of contact for components. For example, what we are going to implement right now is a eye damageable interface. In your game, you might have an enemy who you smack with a stick, and he takes a damage. But let's say you want to introduce a box which you can attack, and it will break, and a bunch of loot might fall out of it. Or for example, you want to make it possible to smash certain wall with your attacks. So what we want to do is to mark certain components with certain functions. So for example, this enemy is damageable, this box is damageable, this wall is damageable, okay? And to do this, we will be using an interface called eye damageable. So each of these objects will have certain kind of components. The enemy will have a character, the destructible object will have, well, destructible object component, and the wall will have like a destructible wall component. And each of these components will inherit from eye damageable interface, allowing us to access their components when we are delivering the damage through this interface. So make the eye damageable interface with take damage method. Now inside the character we will make him eye damageable, and we already have an take damage implementation, because our take damage method in the character have exactly the same name and parameters. Just to make sure, let's comment out the damage method. Now if I go up, our interface will complain that we haven't implemented the take damage method. Implement the method. Let's move it closer to the commented out method. As you can see, same declaration as in the interface. Good. Now in the attack handler, instead of using character, we will use eye damageable. Let's test this. Good. Let's make some kind of destructible box. Create destructible object as a cube. Let's paint it into some kind of material. Good. Then create another new component called destructible object. Inside, inherit from iDamageable. And when this object is taking any damage, we will simply destroy the object. Now we need to identify if we are clicking on this object. So call interactable object to it, to mark as interactable. Inside the interact input, we need to change the way we are targeting the damageable objects. Again, we use character. Instead, we will use iDamageable, and let's rename it into attack target to be more clear what this field represents. And inside the update interactable object, make sure we use iDamageable interface in the get component. Inside the update HP bar, let's comment out the HP bar part for now. We have an issue. When we form a command, we are getting the game object. To use it as target for attack, by getting it from the reference of the object to which component is attached. But our iDamageable interface cannot return the game object like this, because technically speaking, interfaces are not components. So for now, let's reuse game object from the hovering over. Let's test this. Good. Let's change how our damage is calculated. Right now we are directly taking the damage from the character stats. Extract damage calculation into separate method on the character. Good. Now if you need to expand or change the damage calculation, you have a method where you calculate your damage. Just open this method and change it at your heart content. Good, this is it for this episode. Special thank you to this old Hashdu for his generous support. With best regards, see you in the next episode.